This happened about 2 years ago when my roommate and I first moved into a rental house. It was a decent place in a mostly safe city. The landlords were pretty hands-off, which we thought was a good thing. The basement, though, was strange. It was only partially finished, with a huge crawl space in the back where a tree had damaged the foundation years before. We never used it. It had old graffiti, holes in the walls, and just felt off. We never bothered to lock the door. Slow pan down dark basement stairs, light from above illuminating dust motes, revealing a shadowy, cluttered space with a gaping black hole in the far concrete wall. One afternoon, I got home from work, and my neighbor, who's a cop, came over to talk. He told me a man in a red truck had pulled into my driveway and tried to get into my backyard. When my neighbor confronted him, the man said he needed to check the serial number on my hot water heater. That was his excuse for trying to get into my locked, fenced yard. My landlord drove a similar truck, so I thought it was him. I sent a text. Close-up of a phone screen, text message thread with landlord. The last message reads, "Was that you today?" A moment later, a new bubble appears. No, it wasn't him. After some digging, we learned the man was the previous owner, a guy I'll call Jim. My landlord tried to call him but couldn't get through. We figured that was the end of it. A few days later, I was on my lunch break when my doorbell camera alerted. I opened the app and saw two serious-looking men in suits. They were detectives, but not from our state. They were looking for Jim. They told me he had warrants for stolen firearms. Visual. POV from doorbell camera, slightly grainy and wide angle. Two men in plain clothes hold up badges to the lens, their expressions grim. A red truck is barely visible at the curb in the background. They suspected he might have hidden something in my basement and was trying to retrieve it. They advised me to put a lock on the basement door immediately. In the time it took for them to coordinate with local police to search the place, Jim came back twice. My camera caught him once, banging on my front door, his face blurred but determined. Then, I came home to find the old chicken coop in my yard had been rummaged through. The local police finally searched the basement and yard, but found nothing. Night vision footage from doorbell camera. A man's distorted face is close to the lens, his hand raised as if knocking. The timestamp in the corner reads 2:17 a.m. We had a bad storm a few months later. The next morning, my roommate pointed to one of the small basement windows. The pane was completely shattered, pushed inward. It hadn't been like that before the storm. I unlocked the basement door and went down. Everything was disturbed. My old recliner was shoved aside. Tubs of Christmas decorations were opened and spilled. Even the empty hot water heater had been moved. He'd been inside again, searching for whatever he'd hidden. Visual, low-angle shot from inside the basement, looking up at the broken window. Shards of glass glitter on the concrete floor below, and rain drips through onto the ground. I called the police. The officer who came out glanced at the window and said it was probably the wind. He ignored the ransacked state of the room, ignored the history. He just propped the broken pane back up and left. We got hit by an actual tornado a few months after that. No windows broke. But sure, officer, it was the wind. The broken basement window, now haphazardly covered with a piece of plywood from the outside. A streak of mud is smeared across the wood. After that, my roommate and I had a talk. The local police weren't going to help. Jim clearly only wanted what was in the basement, not the main house. We had nothing valuable down there, and my mini Aussie, who has a doggy door to the yard, was always fine. If Jim was getting in, he was either winning over my dog or dealing with his frantic herding. So we made a decision. We changed the basement lock, but we knew it wouldn't stop him if he was determined. Close-up of hands installing a new, heavy padlock on the weathered basement door. The lock clicks shut with a heavy final sound. We just stopped reporting it. We accepted that a stranger with warrants for stolen guns might occasionally be in our basement, looking for his contraband. The dread became a quiet, constant hum. Every time I'd let the dog out at night, I'd glance at that basement window. I'd listen for the sound of movement down there. We told ourselves he'd found what he needed and moved on, but you never really know. Sometimes the most unsettling thing isn't a confrontation, but a silent, ongoing agreement with a shadow in your own home. The camera holds on the dark, closed basement door from inside the kitchen. The only light is from the stove clock, casting a green glow. Everything is still and silent. This happened just last week. I was walking home from dinner at a friend's place. It was only 7:30 in the evening, but in late autumn, that meant it was already fully dark. My boyfriend's apartment was just 2 blocks from the restaurant. I'd texted him, and he was on his way to meet me halfway. The streets in this residential area were quiet, just the hum of a distant highway and the occasional yellow glow from a house window. POV, walking on a cracked sidewalk at night, under the orange halo of a streetlight. Dark, silent houses line the street. The camera moves steadily forward. The walk was so short, I didn't even put my headphones in. I was just bundled in my coat, thinking about the meal, my breath making little clouds in the cold air. I remember passing a few parked cars, nothing out of the ordinary. Then, as I approached a darker stretch between streetlights, I noticed a sedan parked along the curb ahead. Its engine was off, no interior lights on. I thought nothing of it. Just someone visiting a neighbor, maybe. A dark-colored sedan is parked under a large, shadowy tree. No streetlight directly hits it. The windows are tinted and reflect the empty street. I was right alongside the car, about to pass it, when a sharp male voice cut through the silence. "Hey, babe." It came from inside the vehicle. The voice was so sudden, so unexpected, that my head snapped toward the sound on pure instinct. I looked directly into the passenger side window, and I saw him. The interior dome light wasn't on, but enough ambient light seeped in for me to see the shape of him, the movement. He was exposed, completely. Just performing, staring right at me. Close-up view into a car window. A blurred male figure is visible in the driver's seat, his face obscured by shadow. The explicit, jerking motion of his arm is clear and unsettling. My brain didn't process it at first. There was a full second of frozen, horrifying comprehension. The disgust hit me like a physical wave, a jolt that shot from my stomach to my throat. I didn't see his face. It was just a dark shape, but I saw everything else. I spun away from the car, my heart slamming against my ribs. The sidewalk was utterly empty. No one on porches, no headlights turning the corner. It was just me and that car and what was inside it. The POV camera whirls away from the car, showing the empty, dark sidewalk stretching ahead. The shot is shaky, breath sounds are audible. The parked car remains in the background, ominous and still. I ran. I fumbled my phone from my pocket, my fingers clumsy with panic. I called my boyfriend, my voice a tight, high-pitched whisper. "He's here, a car. He's just come now." I didn't look back. I just kept moving forward, feeling horribly exposed on that open sidewalk, waiting for a car door to open behind me. I saw my boyfriend's familiar figure jogging toward me under the next streetlight. I've never been so relieved to see anyone. From a low angle, the silhouette of the boyfriend is seen running under a streetlight in the distance, getting closer. The foreground is blurry, simulating disoriented panic. I pointed wordlessly back toward the car. He understood immediately. He marched past me, his posture rigid with anger. I heard him yell, "Get the fuck out of here!" His voice echoed off the silent houses. A second later, I heard the car's engine roar to life. Tires squealed as it pulled away from the curb and sped off into the darkness. We stood there, both of us shaking. In the chaos, we hadn't even thought to get the license plate. It was just a dark blur, taillights vanishing. The dark sedan peels away from the curb. its red taillights flaring brightly before disappearing around a distant corner. The street is left empty again. We reported it, of course. We're checking with his apartment complex for any security camera footage that might have caught the plate, but I doubt we'll ever find him. That's what lingers. The incident was over in 2 minutes, but the feeling isn't. It wasn't just the violation, the shock. It was the calculated, casual cruelty of it. He was just waiting in the dark for someone, anyone, to walk by. I keep seeing that shadowy interior of the car in my mind. I feel a chill every time I pass a parked vehicle at night now, my eyes fixed straight ahead, refusing to look. Slow push in on a different, innocent parked car on a dark street at night. The camera holds on the dark, vacant windows, a lingering sense of threat implied. I'm safe. Nothing more happened. But the world feels just a little thinner, a little darker, knowing men like that are out there, sitting in the quiet, waiting to shatter your peace with their sickness. So, to the man in the dark sedan on Oakwood Lane, let's not meet again. Final shot of the empty residential street at night, still and quiet. The narration ends, but the image holds for a few seconds, leaving a palpable sense of unease. This happened last August in Steamboat, Colorado. I was there for my mom's 60th birthday. Aerial drone shot of a mountain town at dusk, nestled in a dark valley, streetlights just starting to glow. It was around 9 at night. The party was winding down at the condo complex's community center. The building was built into a hill. 3-story wooden lodge-style building on a steep slope, exterior lights on, a dark parking lot at its base. I'd been feeling sick from the altitude all day, so I was completely sober. I slipped away from the family to get some air. First-person view walking through a dim, empty hallway, the muffled sounds of a party behind a closing door. I went out to the front of the building, to a little swinging bench in the parking lot. It was a clear night, perfect for watching the meteor shower. Low-angle shot of a single wooden swing bench on a gravel patch, the lit building behind it, a vast starry sky above. I could hear my nieces and nephews laughing somewhere up on the deck. I remember the song playing faintly from a phone speaker. I settled in to relax. Close up on hands lighting a cigarette or joint, the brief flare illuminating a tired face, then a slow pan up to the starry sky. I was looking up, just starting to unwind, when I saw movement. Something burst through the thick bushes directly across the lot. Sudden shaky movement in dense, dark foliage about 50 yards away, branches snapping. My mind, still catching up, registered it as a big, shaggy dog. But then the shape kept coming and it was moving fast. A low, heavy gallop, a large, dark, quadrupedal shape emerging from the brush into the dim parking lot, moving with deliberate speed toward the camera. It was a bear, a massive black bear. And it was charging right at me. The bear's form becomes clearer as it enters a pool of faint light from the building, its shoulders rolling with each powerful stride. Every piece of advice from every documentary flashed through my head at once. Run? Climb? Play dead? I had maybe 2 seconds. Rapid, blurry cuts, a tree trunk, a locked door handle, the metal bars of a gate, all seen in frantic first-person glances. I didn't choose. My body moved. I scrambled onto the top of the swinging bench frame, clinging to the overhead support bar. Visual, low-angle shot from the ground, looking up at a person perched precariously on the narrow top beam of a swing set, feet braced, knuckles white on the bar above. The bear closed the distance in seconds. I was screaming, "No, bear, go!" My voice sounded foreign, shrill with pure terror. The bear's large, rounded head and shoulders fill the left side of the frame, blurry and too close to focus on, just feet from the swinging bench. It paused for a heartbeat right beside me. I could hear its breathing. Then it moved past, up a grassy path toward the side of the building. The bear's dark rump moving away, following a narrow dirt trail that disappears into deeper shadow beside the building. My own gasping breaths were loud in my ears. I started to think it was over, and then I heard the second set of footsteps. The camera, from the perch on the bench, looks over a shoulder. Another, larger shape is moving across the parking lot in the same relentless gallop. This one was bigger, much bigger. My screaming turned into something wordless and raw. It didn't stop when it reached me. The second bear stands on the path, its full side profile visible. It is immense, with coarse, dark fur, standing perfectly still, head turned toward the bench. It stopped. It looked right at me. Then it made this sound, a deep huffing chuff, jaws clacking together. The smell hit me, wet earth and decay. Extreme close-up on the bear's head, its small eye reflecting the distant building light, its muzzle slightly open, breath visible in the cool air. It felt like an eternity, just staring into the eyes of a predator that saw me as an obstacle. Then, slowly, it turned and ambled after the first one. The large bear turns its head away and lumbers off camera, following the path. The frame holds on the now empty dark trail. The spell broke. I heard shouting from the building, the blare of a car alarm, an air horn. My brother-in-law ran out, peeled my hands from the bar, and carried me inside. Disorienting, shaky view from over a man's shoulder, looking back at the empty swing bench receding, then the bright interior of a doorway. The next morning, we found deep, five-toed prints in the soft dirt next to that bench. Slow zoom on a clear, sharp bear track pressed into dark mud, early morning light casting long shadows across the impression. I still can't hear that song from the party without feeling my heart stutter, and I never sit on outdoor benches after dark anymore. Final shot of the empty swing bench in daylight, swaying slightly in a breeze, a stark, ordinary object now holding a silent story. Slowly zooming in on dark, empty room, single lamp light, chair facing away from camera. Thanks for listening. If you have your own story you'd like to share, leave it in the comments or send it to me directly. I read every single one. Stay safe.